anything you say about yourself about the past, for example, I'll just use a simple one. Oh, I'm not good at art, okay? If I say I'm not good at art, if you say something like that in your head, I pause my client and say, okay, in the past, I haven't been very good at art. I'm now open to the possibility that I could be better at that. If you've reacted to a trauma you had when you were young, you can say this. In the past, I don't want to cry because we all have trauma. Okay, in the past, I have reacted to the traumas that have happened in my past. I'm now open to the possibility that I no longer have that kind of reaction. That is so profound.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Hello, West Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives. Well, today we're going to be talking about a topic that we're hearing more and more about: stress, what it does to you, what it does to your performance, what it does to your relationships, and it could be stress that you're finding yourself in that you never experienced before. But I think a lot of us are suffering under stress, and maybe we don't even know it. It could be diagnosed as anxiety, depression, or whatever, but stress has brought it on. I have a wonderful guest to talk about this, and she's going to go into more details, and that's why I wanted her here, because I realize that so many people are telling me they feel like they're just so stressful and they don't know why, and she's going to be here to help us out on this. But she is a riveting coach, and she's a speaker and a trainer and an author, and in a high performance coaching to her clients, and she helps people get stuff done under pressure and helps them live a stress-free life, and then they eventually discover what they're really good at. But I want to welcome to the show Elle Ingalls, and I'm so glad that you're here today, because I want to live as a pressure-free, be in the present, and be very productive.
Oh, that's beautiful. I call those the P's. So you get to be present, more productive,
right,
more powerful, not forceful, but powerful from the inside, which is a totally different feeling. And that's what it really means to live pressure-free.
And so I want you to share. I didn't go into everything because you have a lot on your bio, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to have you on my show. We're going to do 2 parts. So this is going to be part 1. We're going to be talking about what program she has, where she comes from, how she developed this, and how she helps adults. And then in part 2, we're going to be talking about your book, You Wrote for Children, because that's originally how you started, and how children today are starting to take medicine to go to sleep, anxiety stuff. They don't understand why they're stressed out, and it could be that they're picking it up from their parents. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about that. But all right, I want you to look into that camera and talk about who is Elle Ingalls and how did you get into this, and what makes your coaching a little bit different, because I've had other people on, but I know you well and I follow you, and I'm thinking this is a little bit different than what most people think.
This is a lot different. Most stress management coaches or people in that space are going to tell you to do a lot of self-care, take time off, slow down. I mean, even my father was a bank president, and I remember him having high blood pressure and diabetes starting in his late 30s. And his physician was like, you need to not work at night, take your weekends, have a good vacation, follow this diet. My dad did all of that, and yet he still had a heart attack in his early 60s, and the second one he died from. And so I only wish I could have figured this all out 10 years before, Pamela, because I think my father could still be alive if I could have figured this out. And my mother as well, because my mom died of breast cancer, which is a stress-induced disease as well. So, gosh, where do I start with all this to really dive in for you?
Yeah, I mean, when we talk on the, when I've known you for a while. I know
yes.
your children, and I know especially your son, Hugh. But you really got into this because you were seeing people something about your sons asked
Yeah.
you, because were you already practicing this in your family?
I'm going to give you the three, when I look back over my timeline, the three things that got me doing what I'm doing today.
And you would
Because-
call yourself what? I named you as a coach.
Yeah, high performance coach,
for pretty much type A person.
Type A high achievers.
High achievers.
Yeah, those are usually my clients, but I also help people who are stuck in anxiety, in depression. They know that there's got to be something better for them. So really it's someone who wants something better for their life or wants to be able to do more. So if I go back in time to high school, I grew up in New Hampshire. I was a runner, and I was the top 2-miler and 5th best sprinter on a huge team. I fell for a marketing ploy, bought some shoes that weren't right for my feet, and actually destroyed my knees. So my senior year, I could barely walk, let alone run. So after the first race, I had such pain and such problems, went to a sports medicine doctor who said, you cannot run for a year. Now I had hopes of running in college, so this was very devastating to me and actually went into a little bit of a depression. I went to my coaches though, and I said, I don't want to leave the team. I was the distance captain. It's like, I don't want to leave the team. Yeah. I said, can I apprentice coach? So little things started happening. I'm a violinist. I've been a violinist since I was a tiny girl, so I've been on stage my whole life. Kids used to line up, both boys and girls, to talk to me before their big events, especially at the bigger meets, because I would say these things that would help them be calm in the moment so they could go perform well. So when I think back, I thought, oh my gosh,
That's like foreshadowing.
I know, like I've been doing this since I was 17 in a way.
I think a lot of people, you probably experience this, that other people have seen their talent early on.
Oh yeah.
But it's kind of a self-belief, or you don't think you can utilize that. I think we all, I will quickly,
Or
I
you
do think we all have something.
Or you're just doing, on a different path. And so I went to the University of Michigan to college. I couldn't run, but I actually got recruited to row. So I had never been in a shell. I'd never rowed before. And 3 weeks in, I won a spot in the varsity boat. So I rowed varsity for 3 years. I never would have had that experience if I hadn't done that. And even as the first year in the boat, I was the spirit girl. Like, that's just me. I love to have fun. Like, I'm the first to start singing crazy songs to get people, feeling good. And so that was like a little thing I did. Fast forward, and I became the first woman in orchestral conducting at the University of Michigan, the first woman to ever conduct the symphony there. Wow. So that was a huge deal because that's still a very much male-dominated space in the world. And I don't have any complaints about that at all. I mean, talent is talent. You got to do your thing. So I won one of these spots, and at one of my concerts, I'm conducting for a clarinetist who's the soloist, and we get done and he goes, that was so good. Will you be the first violinist for a piece for my senior recital? So he's going to do this clarinet quintet, 4 pieces on the string side and him. I'm like, sure, let's do this, because I'm all excited, right? I get back to my apartment like, oh crap, I'm doing 2 degrees, an MBA and an MM at Michigan, and I'm working 2 little jobs for the Ann Arbor Symphony. I don't have a lot of practice time. But I practice, everything goes well. We go out on stage, and for public speaking or any time you have to be in front of a room, we don't have a fear of public speaking. We have a fear of public speaking in front of a certain person. So when we stepped out on stage that night, I was expecting a small amount of people in the recital hall at Michigan, not a big deal. This kid's just playing his senior recital. We walk out on stage. It is standing room only, and in the back are all the faculty from the string department.
Oh my goodness.
Seeing them, I had what we would call today a panic attack. Like, I thought I was having a heart attack, like a serious heart attack. Because I'd never experienced stage fright in my life. My heart was pounding, my hands were sweaty, I couldn't see the music, like it was a freak out. And I got through it okay, because I had to lead the whole thing. And we listened to the reel-to-reel, it was like all fine. But I went home that night and said, that can never happen again. I can't stand in front of a 70-piece orchestra and have a meltdown. Like, that can't happen.
Right.
We had no internet or anything, so I took myself to the medical library at Michigan, talked to the research librarians, and started to learn about mind-body connection. This is before that inner game of tennis or any of that stuff. Like, I was trying to figure this thing out on my own. Like, what happened to me? How can it never happen again? And I created a little set of tools. I didn't even call them that. They were just my thing, right?
Right.
The things I was actually telling those kids back in high school, right? The things that would always keep me calm on stage. And I became really, really good at it. So fast forward from the 80s to 2010, my older 2 boys were playing high school baseball, and the eldest said, "Mother, you should coach our baseball team in your mental toughness tips. We would be amazing." And I'm like, who wants their mother in the dugout?
Yeah, really.
That was my response.
I have my mom at home. I don't want to,
you know, it's like even in 2nd grade, it's throw the snacks, don't come near us, right? So I laughed and I said, "Oh, wow." And he goes, "No, Mother, I'm serious." And so I looked at my middle son who was starting as well. And I said, "Ned," and he goes, "Mother, we want you. We want you to do this." So that night, I just started writing. And I don't even consider myself a writer. I couldn't stop writing. And I wrote a pamphlet. My husband is a pro writer. He kind of tightened the language, threw in funny baseball graphics, and I had this little thing. So I took it to the coaches. The head coach on the spot hired me to be his private coach. It was 2010, and he was a financial planner. So you can imagine how crappy it was when he saw certain caller IDs on his phone. It was a terrible time for those people in financial advising in 2010.
Yeah.
So I started working with all these financial advisors around Michigan when they found out what I had. So he actually became a private client, and I worked with all those baseball kids. So these are high school baseball boys. I sat right on the field with them. I coached them all one-on-one, and there's still a couple today that will forever be grateful for what we did. It was life-changing. So then I knew I kind of had something. My department chair at the college where I taught violin for years, she hired me to be her private coach. And suddenly it's word of mouth. And that's how I started this. It was completely organic. I'm a why person. I say I'm a why girl. If someone is my client and they have a certain predisposition or a condition or a disease, I go right to hard research to find out how are stress hormones, because that is my expertise, affecting that particular disease or condition. Let's take something like ADD or ADHD. I had an adult client with ADHD. The symptoms that she was presenting with are exactly the symptoms of what happens when you trigger the fight or flight stress response. Now, most of us don't think that just because of the little annoyances in our day or the little things we're going through in our day, that we're actually triggering the stress response, but we are.
Wow.
So that is my expertise. I am not a psychologist or therapist. I sometimes help people get that help if they need it, but sometimes people have been in therapy for years and they come and work with me and we break the anxiety in a matter of weeks because we work on the biology of the stress response, which is my expertise.
Well, okay, so look at me.
Yes.
All right, so what do we think? Oh, okay, let's talk about that when you're talking. Do you think they always say that a lot of the anxiety and depression and everything is coming from trauma?
Yeah.
Trauma, okay. Some trauma, and it could be, all of us deal with certain things of their past, right?
Yeah.
I told you that, I heard that we're every age we've ever been.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you have this trauma that you've learned to deal with as a young age. And it doesn't have to be even a major as maybe sexual abuse or or an alcoholic father. It could be, I was a middle child. All right, and we talked about, make sure I don't have my mic. We talked about me being in the middle child when we were on the phone.
Yeah.
And I can talk a lot,
Yeah.
but then I know that when I was little, if I talked, my mother looked at me. And you could imagine what you learned was a child.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's other people that have learned their parents are they're bigger than life when you're growing up. That you just you can't explain it.
Yeah.
Nobody takes your place as your parents, and you're all thriving if you come from a large family. I had, all sisters, and we're all competing with each other. And that too is you don't know why we love the same people, but yet there is
really
a little
stressful.
bit of commanded. So you learn. Okay, so
Yeah.
when you're dealing, let's talk about if I called Elle, I've had enough, right? I've had enough of this. I want to
Yeah.
know what it feels like not to have it, because you may not even know you're doing it.
So here are some key things that I share pretty early on with my clients. Number one, your past does not define your future.
Okay.
Every 7 years, every cell is different. You're not the same person, physically not the same person as you were 7 years ago.
That's true. You can,
We're continually renewing and refreshing ourselves. So your past doesn't define your future. If you have anything you say about yourself about the past, for example, I'll just use a simple one. Oh, I'm not good at art. Okay? If I say I'm not good at art, if you say something like that in your head, I pause my client and say, okay, in the past, I haven't been very good at art. I'm now open to the possibility that I could be better at that. If you've reacted to a trauma you had when you were young, you can say this. In the past, I don't want to cry because we all have trauma. Okay, in the past, I have reacted to the traumas that have happened in my past. I'm now open to the possibility that I no longer have that kind of reaction. That is so profound.
I just sit here and you say it. It's like how, that's almost like sprinkling water in somebody's face. Think of it differently.
Yeah.
Because you always revert back to what you know.
We revert, and we have habits of reaction. I'm glad you mentioned the family idea. We have habits of reaction that are generations old, not just our guardians and parents and the people who raised us, anyone we emulated, even peers. So like go back to 3rd grade, and maybe there was the cool girl that was mean to this other girl. You'd take on the same stance. So we build these habits of reaction in us that are generations old from many different people. College professors we emulated, coaches, teachers that we liked. We picked up little habits of reaction. If they got annoyed about something, we would get annoyed about that too.
Right.
So we have a lot. I love to say that the pressure-free method that I've created here is very simple, but we're very complex. So we've got to be okay with not being in a hurry to solve this. Number one, it's simple. Everything that I teach, people can do instantly. However, we're complex, so it may take a while, and it may not be, I'll share a couple tools here, but honestly, I might not share the ones that you need because we need to go deeper. So I've built over 50 ways to interrupt the stress cycle. I refer to it as a cycle because there's 2 floods of hormones, different floods of hormones. And for a male, when a male triggers the fight or flight stress response, it takes up to 9 hours before those hormone floods are dissipated out of the cells and your cells are back to normal. But for females, it's an up to 24-hour cycle. Now, it's very dependent on many things, like how much of these hormones you release, how you feel after, and all the little things. But if you release them, like let's say you're annoyed at something, but a few moments later you're feeling okay, your cells are not okay. You just dumped a whole cocktail of hormones into your bloodstream with that one little annoyance. So let's say you wake up in the morning, you know how you say, oh, I got up on the wrong side of the bed because you tripped over some shoes or something on the floor or something, And the moment that happened and you got annoyed or even angry that you like stumbled or whatever, or maybe you sprained your ankle, like something happens, the moment that happens, you're now in the cycle. So these hormones go out and they can make you feel all kinds of side effects, like headaches and migraines, or throat tightening and it's hard to breathe and your heart is racing.
Right, stomach.
Or the stomach.
Yeah.
Like your stomach hurts, you're nauseous, maybe you have to pee a lot. Like maybe you have to go to the bathroom like right away. I've worked with people that the moment they trigger fight or flight, they have to go to the bathroom. Like it's just, I have to go.
And you may not even know that you're having these symptoms and stress is the cause, right?
Nope. Face turning red. So somebody says something and you feel a little embarrassed. Your face turning red, your hands feeling cold, your feet feeling cold. All of those are side effects of this first cocktail of hormones. They're called catecholamines. Adrenaline is the big one, but I just refer to it as a cocktail because you're now under the influence. For hours.
For hours.
For hours. So when I say that to you, and I'm coaching you right now, okay? When I say that to you, don't touch your mic, but I want you to put your hand on your heart. You are worth so much more than anything that could cause you to trigger this cocktail of hormones, because 24 hours is too long to compromise yourself.
And
It's too long.
Okay, so yeah, because your whole coaching is about stress. When did you discover it was stress that was causing people to not reach certain levels, or was detriment to their health?
Yeah.
And stuff. What did you ruining their relationships, and it could be that they're not even sharing that they're stressed out.
Oh, yeah.
It's just they're reacting.
Yeah.
It's not always violence. It's just they withdraw or they get resentful, and
Correct.
And sometimes I just feel like they're just those emotions. They're under the surface.
Or some people will push things down, which isn't good either, because then they just fester in us. So let me share a couple ABCs with you. So I call these the ABCs of pressure free. We won't do them all. But A's, these are the emotions that could cause you to trigger fight or flight. So anytime you feel angry or annoyed, anxious or afraid, and anytime you feel ashamed. Now, also, it might not be you feeling those things, but someone close to you feeling those things. And I love to say this, misery doesn't just love company, it demands it. So if you have someone who's very upset and very anxious about something, you might trigger the stress response to go along with them. So sometimes it's not you feeling the emotion, it's someone you care about.
Right.
And now you're in it too. And so watch for those emotions, and anyone like them, frustration, worry, nervousness, it just goes on and on. But I just like to keep it simple with these A's. If you can figure out what makes you feel those things, those are your triggers. Okay. So once you figure those out,
it could be money. It could be
money, yeah.
A situation people start to trigger by childhood memories.
Yeah,
right?
Childhood memories.
And it could be, fearful that you're going to lose the person because you're not measuring up, or you're failing. You could lose your job. There's all kinds of things.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
When people come to you, share a little bit about, so what are they're looking for? They come to you because nothing else is working, or they find out that. Because how do they know if you're a type A person, your performance, they had some setbacks? How does that work?
I would say, here's how you know. Number one, are you on any medications? Because a medication is going to tell you have something chronic. So if you're on any medications, getting a handle on your stress response can be huge for you. Huge for you. So that's one thing that's a clue. I like to say clues. Some other clues are, do you have some sort of nervous thing, like biting your nails or jiggling your leg or clicking a pen? Like, do you have anything physically kind of like little nervous tics? Some people, their eyes will twitch, like little muscles in their eyes will twitch. Right. Like, do you have something like that presenting? That's a sign that you're triggering fight or flight. A lot of people come to me because they want to be better. Like the student athletes I work with. It's incredible what happens when you're no longer triggering the stress response. You perform at such a higher level. Some people come to me because they want to make more money in their businesses. They want a promotion at work. One woman who worked with Blue Cross Blue Shield that I worked with, she designed her own job. She took herself up like the ladder this way because she got the confidence by not releasing those stress hormones to actually create the job she really wanted. And the company needed it. It was her brainstorm. So let's talk about the brain for a moment. When we trigger fight or flight, our memory and our cognitive functioning shuts down somewhat. That's why if you meet someone and then 5 seconds later you forget their name, it's so embarrassing. It's like, am I stupid? What's wrong with my memory? No, you just shut down your hippocampus. Test anxiety, social anxiety will cause us to have those memory issues. There's 2 places in the brain responsible for willpower. Those shut down. So it's like, oh, I'm so tired after work. I really should work out, but you won't do it. And you'll eat all the wrong foods because you have nothing in your brain to stop you. That's why we'll smoke, drink, eat chocolate, whatever, watch Netflix for 5 hours. Like, we're just trying to feel better.
Right.
So
trying to relieve the
binging.
suffering. Yeah.
In fact, here's some of the B's. We can get really bossy. We can blame others. And it's because we're just trying to justify how crappy we feel, by the way. We'll binge. Some of my clients say, Elle, I feel like my brain is broken. Like I'm so exhausted. I'm so secretly burned out because professionals are not going to show it. We're calm on the outside,
Right.
massive stress on the inside. And then some people are just plain out in burnout. But we have these little ways, of being that happen when we trigger fight or flight because we're on that adrenaline high and it's kind of crazy. And then we're going to go on this roller coaster. And I should mention the two floods. The first flood are catecholamines. The second flood are glucocorticoids, glucose and cortisol. We hear a lot about cortisol today. People are trying to lower it. Please don't lower cortisol if you've triggered adrenaline. Our bodies are perfectly made. The second flood of hormones goes out to fix the brain cells we compromised when we triggered fight or flight and our extremities. This is why we have the cold hands and feet and we can't think well.
Right.
So those go out to fix the cell water, sugar, salt. Now we're powered back up. We need glucocorticoids to go out. So you don't want to lower cortisol if you've released the first flood of hormones, which everybody has done, but they're not aware of it.
I know, we get more and more information and stuff. So God, I could talk to you for hours.
I know.
But okay, so let's just say how long do people start seeing, as you have seen, I know it varies, but results.
Yeah,
when they come.
Yesterday, I was coaching at a forum. That was a 3-day forum. I was day 2. People reported yesterday already having results from hearing me the day before. So you will have some immediate things start to happen for you just because this is what I teach is so simple. But what's interesting is that when does the real breakthrough come? When you can go an entire day and not trigger the stress response, that is when the real benefits come. For me, it took 8 weeks. At my 8-week mark, by the way, I thought I was a pretty calm, chill professional. I didn't need my method. I was completely wrong. Completely wrong.
Yourself, huh?
In 8 weeks, everything changed. My skin was covered in eczema. For 35 years, my first big violin competition, completely healed. Like, that's my hand today. Wow. I can't even believe that's my hand. In fact, I cried.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I hadn't felt the skin on that knuckle for 35 years. It was always cracked and bleeding. Stress acne.
Gaining weight, people have belly fat.
I lost all this weight in here, just disappeared. One of my clients lost so much weight in the first 10 days, people didn't even know who he was. Inflammation from his face and his gut just disappeared.
I just like to be able to calmly, don't get too excited.
Yeah.
Like I love to help other, you know what I'm saying? I get caught up in it. I want to promote as many people as I can and whatever. And I get too much excitement, so I just got to be able to, and when to use that.
Here's what's cool. When you gain this method, in fact, I'll mention Hugh, he and I, my eldest son and I, really dug into this. And in the first couple weeks, one morning, I'm like getting up earlier and earlier and earlier. I'm down on the computer and it's 4:30 in the morning. He comes down, it's 5 a.m. He's 18 years old, getting up at 5 a.m., right? And he goes, Mother, I feel so calm and exhilarated every morning. What is that? I said, honey, I think for the first time we're getting a real night's sleep, a deep delta wave, full sleep. So we need less hours of sleep because we're actually getting it. And we're waking up with energy, ready for the day. We're not fatigued. And so notice that that's like a breakthrough. The breakthrough happens when you go the whole day. I can't predict when it will happen for my clients. One young girl who had been anxiety for 2 years, they'd tried everything. In 2.5 weeks, she broke it. It was amazing. So most people, I say 6 to 8 weeks. My programs are 3-month programs on purpose because I know by like week 8, we're really starting to get the breakthrough. Now we get to craft our lives because now our brain is working. Brain works in a totally different way when you're pressure free. If it's a kid, all their grades go up. It's incredible. I've had kids go from straight C's and D's to straight A's in a matter of weeks. They're not stupid.
Well, I'm excited to hear that, and I'm sure West Michigan, there's people out there that want it different. Maybe they don't even know what's called. They feel something, but they wouldn't even know what it is to feel calm and normal. And then you've opened up doors for them to find, to get to the next level, find out what they're really good at when they're not so stressed out. So share with us, how does West Michigan reach you?
Yeah, you can go to my name. It's just ELLE, like the magazine, Ingalls, like Little House on the Prairie. That's how you can remember me. So Elle Ingalls, ElleIngalls.com is my site. You can sign in and get a free video series from me where I'm going to teach you. I also have a YouTube channel under the same name with many videos. Go to the playlist and trainings if you really want to dig in. And if you want to have a call with me, you'll see a little like bright red button on there. Just click it and you can schedule a time to talk with me. And we can see if this is good for you, if this is would be helpful for you.
All right, I want to thank Elle Ingalls here. We're going to go, this is going to be part 1, and then we're going to go right on to part 2. And we're going to be talking about stress in children today and anxiety, because it is through the roof, and there's so many kids that are being medicated and they just need some help and coping skills to be able to handle that. So this is Pamela Keim from Grand Tap Media. We will catch you next week. Take care, everyone.